Yeah, I can't tell if we're live. Hey, thumbs up.
I think we're live. Let's just go for it. Hi, everybody. Welcome back for another fantastic, fabulous virtual tasting with us here at Becker Vineyards. I am Rebecca Nelson, the wine club director here, and we are tasting through three fantastic wines. We have a library release in this mix, the 2012 Inverno. We also have the 2017 Inverno, and we also have the 2016 Autunno, and these are all part of the Quattro Stagione series that we've been doing for quite a few years. So we're excited to get to tasting these. I have a shout out, of course, today. Today, September 16th, is my parents' wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary to my mom and dad, 42 years today. So congratulations. Tonight, I'm going to be hanging out with you to do this tasting. We also, of course, have Dr. Richard and Dr. Joseph Becker and our winemaker, Jon Leahy, as always. I will turn it over to the gentleman to get us started. Cheers.
Cheers, Rebecca. I noticed a little sarcasm there when you said my name, as always.
Oh, I have no idea what you're referring to, John.
So, Doc, would you like to introduce us this week, please?
Just my thought is that our curve in our country is starting to flatten. In some places, it's still rising in maybe 8 or 10 states. We still have 1,000 deaths today. We've had 195,000 deaths in the United States. I think the point that just really gets my attention is that Taiwan, which has a population of 29 million people, right across the straits from China, lots of people coming back and forth there. They have had 10 deaths in 29 million people. It helps to have a vice president who has a epidemiology postgraduate degree from Johns Hopkins, vice president of Taiwan. But they were very vigorous about masking, about finding people who are positive, isolating the contacts, and they really just closed it down. That's what we have to do until the vaccine becomes available. It may be a long time before it's available for everybody. But so I guess I want to say to everyone, wear your mask and drink wine. Okay, that's a great combination. We can put that on a label.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
That's good advice. So what do I do after I soak the mask with the wine I try to drink?
Work on it, John. It's delicious.
So Joe, it's good to see you. I see. We're gonna try these wines in a little bit of different order. So we were talking about this prior to going live here. My opinion is that we should all try the 16, the 12, and then the 17. And that's going to confuse everyone, but just chalk it up to my craziness. But I want everybody to pick up their glass of 16 and give it a swirl and a taste, if you wouldn't mind. And the nose on this is incredible. So Joe, what do you think of the nose on the 16?
Well, let's see. You know, the nose has a kind of an interesting, maybe a little bit of a herbal note. Yeah, just kind of an interesting herbaceous. I mean, forest floor we think about on the palate, but kind of in that direction. It's very unique.
Yeah, this is Doc. What do you think?
I'm getting a lot of forest floor humus, some saddle leather, that kind of the classic Bordeaux aromatic. This wine is 4 years old, so starting to release those characters.
Rebecca?
John, what do you think?
The nose.
I really kind of am getting a lot of what Joe was saying, that sort of herbaceousness, maybe a little bit of vanilla in there as well. And yeah, that's really what I'm getting right now on the nose. Mine, unfortunately, haven't been open very long. So I'm looking at about 30 to 40 minutes is how long mine have been open. So they're really going to open up as this tasting goes on.
Okay. Gary and Angela, what are you guys getting on the nose? Let's wait till they see something. So, so have you, Joe, have you tasted it?
I believe I have. I've
Yeah.
cheated a little bit.
Yeah, gee, I saw you at the corner of my eye. So what do you get on the palate?
It's got very, this is another wine, John, you created with very pretty tannins. It's got as you'd say, it's got sort of a very nice fullness on the mid palate, and maybe some darker fruit notes.
I get it. I'm getting it 1 through 5. It kind of drops off rather suddenly on 6.
Uh-huh.
On the retro nasal, I get a little bit. Doc, what are you getting on the palate?
Well, I'm getting, it's all kind of muted. I think this wine is probably in the passing through what the done phase. You know, it's it would be great, I think, to taste it in 5 more years. I think it's not releasing everything that's there for me.
It's a little muted.
It's a little muted, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, as I was saying earlier, mine's been open about 45, 50 minutes right before we went live. So the 16 came on strong. It's starting to develop a little bit. The 12 is just starting to open up, but this 16 is incredible. So Rebecca, have you tasted the 16?
I have, and I'm getting a little bit of like a dark chocolate note toward the end on the palate for me.
And raspberry, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want a chocolate brownie with raspberry ice cream. So thank you.
Can we make that? Whip that up real quickly.
Yeah, I'm getting some bramble in there for sure. So Doc, Joe, when's the last time you guys had the 16? Do you remember the last time you had the Autunno?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been probably since we bottled it.
I see. The last time I had this was about a year ago because we did a last late winter, early spring last year. We did a Quattro Stagione tasting. I did because I was getting ready to blend some other ones. This one's come a long way even in that year. But 4 years since we vinified it, and certainly 2.5 plus in the bottle. It's been really nice. So this I'm going to do a little something different. I want to kind of talk about each wine, and then we'll go back and do some comparisons. But on this, the Estate Bordeaux, no, it would qualify as coming from the estate. The vast majority of the grapes are from our estate here in Stonewall. So the blend comp on this, it looks like we've got just about 42, almost 43% Cabernet from our vineyard. We've got 47% Merlot. We've got 8% Malbec, and then we've got 4% Petit Verdot. The Petit Verdot comes from Drew Talent. So
I think this is a classic Bordeaux blend, and I think it's wonderful components, and I agree with Dad. This blend I think is going to hold up, and it's going to really continue to mature, and do very well in the bottle.
Okay, so for the $1 million question, Joe, and you get a chance to win that fabulous wooden duck behind you, left bank or right bank?
Well, classically, Merlot came from the left bank. It was blended along the Gironde starting in the 19th century, around 1824. And interestingly, Merlot was originally named for the area blackbird, Merlau, M-E-R-L-A-U, because of the darkness of the skin of the Merlot grape.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because there's a Merlot out there somewhere in the universe, if I can name it, called Blackbird. Made by an extraordinarily wonderful winemaker.
John, did I win the duck?
You did, sir. You did win the duck. Plus, now it's up to you whether you can get it out of there or not. So, Doc, why Merlot and Cab on the estate? What made you decide to be a Bordelaise house?
Well, I love Bordeaux, and so would we. And I've tasted Bobby Cox's Bordeaux combination, Merlots and Cabs and Cab Franc, and
From Pheasant Ridge.
And from Pheasant Ridge. And so I thought that we would like to try to do what he had done up there. And so the first grapes we planted were all 5 of of the red Bordeaux varietals. And we planted and some Chardonnay. And then over time, we've planted more Bordeaux varietals, and we have certainly have a number of wonderful growers who make unbelievably good Bordeaux grapes for us. So it's just, I guess it's the first wine I fell in love with. I'll never forget, it was at Chez Ardide, and Miguel Ardide brought out a $18 bottle of a 97 Bordeaux, and it was fabulous.
Well, you know, so this is the third wine or fourth wine that we made from the estate, this 2016. You know, not a bad wine for $130 a bottle.
Is that with your discount, John? Or
yeah, that's with my employee discount. Yes.
John's employee discount is different than the rest of ours.
Oh, no,
should be.
And I got the credit card bill to prove it.
No, I mean yours. We charge you 3 times.
Oh, I see. Okay, so before we get too caught up in the humor of the moment, I want to jump, if everybody's okay, over to the 2012. So if everyone would pick up their 2012 Inverno and give it a swirl and a sniff. See, I'm really liking some of the notes on this nose. And so, Rebecca, would you lead us off with what you're getting on the nose? Yes, I know. I saw you eat. That's why I'm calling on you. You see, it's
I'm trying to clear my palate. I just took a bite of cracker. Hold on. Okay. So this one for me, I get a lot of that forest floor, that really nice, when we say mustiness, but in a good way. I really enjoy that. It's got that cellared sort of aroma to it.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So Doc, what do you think of the 12?
Well, it has a lot of depth, both aromatically and in the palate for me, and a very nice finish. And it tastes very much. It smells like a mature wine from Bordeaux, and I can't tell you which region, but
it's got a lot of the nice saddle leather component on the
yeah,
nose.
it does. If there were Gillespie County in Bordeaux, it'd be from there, I think. But I don't. There's not a Gillespie County in Bordeaux, is there? There should be. That's what.
Yep, I think we just did another international incident.
We'll get a letter.
Yeah, we'll get a letter. Absolutely. Well, I can tell you for certain that this is not from Gillespie County.
I'm actually kind of surprised. There's a good amount, still a really nice amount of tannin on this, John. I mean, it's a 12, and I know that occurs, but this is mostly Merlot, right?
The 2012?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's got a nice.
Sorry, Rebecca. I'm getting a very interesting.
Okay. On the palate, I definitely get those tannins are really nice still.
I'm getting a very interesting interesting taste on the front palate. It's not a spice, maybe a vegetable. John, are you?
It's herbal. It's like like tarragon or
I get a little bit of summer savory and a little thyme. Yeah.
Thyme. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, the nose on the 12, I'm absolutely enamored with. And, you know, so the story behind, for those of you joining us who may not be familiar with the Quattro Stagione labels, as you can see up on your screen. So in 2012, well, this would have been late 2013, actually, when I went back to visit these wines for blending and bottling. We had 4 really remarkable Merlot vineyards that we were dealing with from that harvest. And I went rifling through our general manager's COLA file, which is our file for all the labels that Becker's ever done, that registered with the proper Fed and state people. So in there, I found colas for this old set of labels called La Quattro Stagione, which is what you see on your screen. And I wanted to revitalize, since they're the 4 seasons, we had 4 Merlot vineyards. And so we did 4 Merlot blends that first year for the Quattro Stagione. This particular blend is, as you said, Joe, it is a majority of Merlot. It's 56, almost 57% Merlot. The Merlot comes from Steve Newsom vineyards. Now there's just a touch, a smidge, about 4% from our vineyard. That's the same Merlot that we went on later, another year later, and did the estate reserve Merlot bottling that from. But then it also has, it's funny that you mentioned Pheasant Ridge, Doc, because the Cabernet, which is 4%, or I'm sorry, 36% Cabernet, comes from Pheasant Ridge. We got some Cabernet from Bobby, the 12th harvest. Yeah. So that, and just a smidge again of Petit Verdot from our buddy in Mason County, Mr. Talent. But yeah, so this is you know, showcasing the Merlot, then Cab, then a little bit of Petit Verdot on there.
I just love, one of the things that I've learned working here and getting to try sort of these different blends that you put together, John, is realizing how much of a difference that 5% makes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think, oh, it's a Merlot Cabernet blend, but when you add 5% of something, it really does make a significant difference in the flavor and the color and the aromatics that you get. And I definitely think, you know, this is a very dark wine, even for, you know, for 2012. And I think, you know, some of that is probably because due to that Petit Verdot. It's so dark.
Okay, guys, tasting. So on the nose, but what do you guys get on the palate? Joe, what do you get on the palate? I know I'm forcing you guys to drink wine. I apologize.
Golly, John. You know, just the, you know, this is what I'd like to think the 16 will be headed towards in a few years. You know, as I said, it's, you know, we mentioned that kind of interesting herbal note in the front palate that kind of hits you. And it's just it's a very complex, full-bodied wine through and through, I think.
Doc, Trish said, kudos to you, Ricky. Can we all start calling you Ricky now? Look at Joe's eyes just rolled up. Oh, God.
Thanks, Trish.
So what are you?
We had a wonderful trip to Bordeaux with Trish, and it was, you know, it was very, very memorable. Anyway, for me, I get a lot of wonderful balance in this wine on the palate. I get the fruit, the tannins, the minerality. The whole structure is very much together in the palate, which I think is a great sign.
And I think that the tannins have become, that's right, the tannins have become much more integrated in this wine than they were in the 16.
Yeah, and they're present and strong, but they're not bitter. It's just part of the whole structure.
Yeah, because I think it was with the Autunno, or I'm sorry, the Inverno, it was a little over 2 years in barrel before we actually, you know, made the final blend and bottled.
Yeah.
So it's been a fair amount of time in barrel, and then, you know, it's been a fair amount of time, almost 6 years now in bottle. So it's showing up very nicely. What I would like to point out, without sounding egomaniacal here, is that it proves that we have the ability to make good wines here in Texas, that the fruit was grown by these wonderful growers. We were able to take care of those beautiful gems when they got into the winery. But I know when I first came here in 2012, one of the articles that got me riled up was a local winery owner from the state of Texas wrote an article about that Texas was the wrong place to grow and make Bordeaux wines.
Was that from The Onion, John?
No, it's not the wrong place. What?
Was that from The Onion?
Could have been. It could have been. Anyway, so I'd like to raise a glass and say, nope, seems like it's the right place to me. So I like the 12 versus the 16. Now
John,
here,
let's talk about this wine versus the California cabs, which have gone in the direction of, I guess, much more extraction, much higher alcohol. This is kind of the subtle, old style French wine,
13.2.
that 13.2, which we've been trying to make in Texas. And yet, for me, this has just as much interest for me as the very highly extracted, high alcohol California cabs. And I wonder what you think about that.
I wonder why you want me to go on my alcohol soapbox.
No,
I mean, it's been 2 weeks.
Right? It's been that long, really? Yeah.
Because we're only doing these once a week now.
Yeah. Well, Doc, actually, in all earnest, I really, first of all, alcohol is not. It only plays a role to me when it's out of balance. Two, California does make a lot of extracted Bordeaux wines, and that, unfortunately, I think there's been a lot written about the homogenization of Napa, that kind of thing, about Cabernets. The extraction is good. I mean, you can do it. You've got this beautiful long growing season, a Mediterranean climate on the West Coast. Well, it used to be, and now it's more like an inferno. The extraction we can still get here too, and that has more to do with the treatment of the grape when growing it. Not overloading the vine, not having a huge crop load per vine, but then also what we do in the winery, how we treat it once it gets there, how we ferment it, and then how we treat it during aging. And I love that everybody loves to say that we're hands off. Oh yeah, winemakers always have the same repetitive thing, but one of our jobs is to make sure that nothing goes wrong with that wine. So it does require a small amount of intervention, but we've been able to do that out fairly well. I think the only thing that would really improve this, that would take it to the next level, is if we started investing in French oak barrels.
we have, John. We've cornered the market for French oak.
So I have to say I'm very happy with that 2012. I'm glad we waited 8 years to come back and try it.
Mhm.
Do you what style? Okay, speaking of that, guys, Joe, Doc, what style do you guys actually, not outside of Becker, what style of wines do you find yourselves leaning towards?
I love the Bordeaux blends, the wines from Bordeaux.
The Homedoc,
Yeah,
the Waterful Merlot, Cab Franc blends we've always enjoyed.
yeah, from Saint Emilion. I guess that and the Aubryon, Margot, that style.
All very, very wonderful, very good wines, but there are many areas in the world that do a really nice extraction, and one of my favorites is the Mendoza in Argentina. And we talk about this. We have hit upon this when we were talking about our Raven, and the fact that you wanted to kind of have something leaning towards that Malbec Petit Verdot, but they also use Bonarda down there, that this wonderful tannic grape, and that's where we're finding Tannat and is one of the grapes that we like for that tannic structure in blending, as well as our Petit Verdot here, both of which a lot of tannic structure, have a lot of color, have a lot of
Cabernet Franc.
Yeah, and Cabernet. Oh, the Cabernet Franc, absolutely. That's the only thing we were missing in this component for the 2012 would be a little bit of Cabernet Franc.
And that would thinking about it would be an interesting addition, wouldn't it?
It would, but unfortunately we bottled it all as Cabernet Franc, and it disappeared somehow. So Rebecca,
yeah, where is the Cabernet Franc, Rebecca?
It's over my right shoulder.
Yeah.
And the top left of the very back, there are 6 bottles.
Yeah.
I
mean, there are 4 bottles. There are only 4 bottles.
I thought there were 6.
Yeah, there are 6.
No, I think there's only 4. I think that was a mistake.
So, which one do you want to try? Look, let's try the 17, but I want you guys to start thinking in the back of your mind about how you want to compare these wines. is now we're going to go back after we try the 17. I want to go back and do a round robin with all three of them comparing against each other.
Okay.
That is okay. So try this 17. It's been open for a while here. So that's such a young nose compared to the other two.
Yeah, it has a lot more, it has a much brighter fruit note to it. Definitely some raspberry on the nose for this one.
The Barbera is strong in this one.
Yeah.
The Barbera is strong in this one, Padawan.
Very strong.
Thank you, John. You and I can get a little bit crazy with movie references.
Spartacus?
Yeah. I was thinking more Rob Roy. Oh, goodness. So, Doc, what do you think of the 17's nose?
Well, I love it. I mean, this wine is beautiful. This is
Fun.
kind of a you know a super Tuscan from the Texas Hill Country.
Mhm.
Made by an Irish winemaker.
In German Hill Country.
In
Yeah,
a German town in a predominantly French house. I mean, this is America.
Actually, the fruit on the nose here is great.
Oh,
I think.
yeah.
Oh, yes. Trish, we're not going to tell you what order until we get to it. So, by the way, I love the fact that we've had several people here since the very beginning. So cheers to you guys for joining us every week and putting up with our
Absolutely.
yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, the nose is incredible. So guys, somebody's going to have to go in depth on what they're getting on the nose.
Maybe a little raspberry,
Little pomegranate.
maybe a little.
Yeah, we're tasting the 17 right now. Somebody just asked 16 or 17. We just finished the 16. We did the 16, then the 12. Now we're on to the 17. Now we're going to go back. I don't think I'm rushing you through this. I just wanted to try them in a rather odd order tonight. And then I want to go each individually. We'll talk about the wines individually because we got a little caught up last week about doing the comparisons all the way through instead of letting each wine rise and shine on its own.
Well, the first two were classic Bordeaux blends, and this is a Bordeaux Italian combination, which I like it.
Mhm.
What do you think?
Rebecca, what do you think?
The raspberry on the nose for me is very predominant immediately. And then what I love is it gets deeper. I get darker red fruits. The fruit on the nose is fantastic. I mean, this is the youngest of the wines, so having that fruit up front is expected. But there's on the palate, the tannins are still really nice. It's getting that velvety structure for me on the palate, which I love, and you do a lot, which is why I spend so much money at Becker, because they have this unique, very wonderful mouthfeel that just is sort of velvety, and it just kind of, it flows very nicely.
You know, it's raspberry balsamic. You know.
Yeah.
Pardon?
No, bad word. Somebody just stated, the heck with it. I'm just going to steal Trisha's descriptors. Coffee and pomegranate with great tannins. Yes, that's Trish. Yeah. How much longer?
On the palate, on the finish, I'm definitely getting a little bit of that sort of espresso note.
Yeah, I do. I have to agree with Trish. I do get a little bit of coffee in here.
Yeah.
But the Barbera and the Sangiovese show through in this, which is really nice. And it is kind of funny that Bordeaux and Barbera go together very well. Cab Merlot and Barbera seem to do very well together.
John, what vineyard is the Barbera from?
I believe in 2017,
This first, right?
it would have been, hold on, I've got my cheat sheets right here. They're all folded up underneath my desk.
Thank you, Rachel, for his cheat sheets.
Nope, she didn't do them this week.
No way.
She made me do them by myself.
Oh my goodness, she forced you to do that?
No, I forced her to be busy in the lab. Unfortunately, it's called Harvest. And when I left, she was making noises and bubbling things and turning colors and stuff. So with wines she was dealing with. So the Barbera is from Drew's vineyard, Joe.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
So right next door. Right.
Yep. So the Barbera is 40%, and then we've got Ready Merlot from VJ Reddy's place. We've got 28% of that. We've got some Talent Petit Verdot in there, 14%. And then we've got 9% each of the Becker Sangiovese and the Jet Cabernet.
I think VJ's Merlot is always such a star.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it does so well in so many of our wines, especially blended with Petit Verdot. And boy, this Barbera, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, the Barbera Merlot we made in 2012, we made a Barbera Merlot combo, and this is just kind of a, you know, a hit backwards towards that. And we had that beautiful Sangiovese that, thank you to our wine club members for coming out and picking it in 2017. It's wonderful. But that was, you know, the bit of Sangiovese in our back vineyard on the experimental block with all the different rootstocks that was back there that Jim Comas was doing the trials on. And that's what made us decide to plant that wine club block of Sangiovese up front near the Lavender House. So how well it did there. I'm just thankful that the Sangiovese is in a muted note. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
So, John, I think this, the first two wines, I think were all about Merlot and ways to support it.
Mm-hmm.
This is all about Barbera. Mm-hmm. And you've added blending components that have supported the Barbera fruit in an extraordinary way for my palate. It's just, this is amazing. If someone put a glass of this in front of you and said, "Where did this come from?" You know, it's hard to say. It's almost like a rare Zinfandel. I mean, a delicate, not over-extracted, beautiful Zin.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't say from the demented dreams of an idiotic mind. I mean, I'm grateful for that.
Coming. I've got it right here.
Yeah, right here somewhere.
It's in his notes.
You know, that's funny you should say on the Zinfandel, because that's exactly it. There's that bramble in there. That's
yeah.
That's kind of fun.
But when you taste, you know, again, a lot of the Zins from California are late harvest, high alcohol, over extracted, powerful. But there are some subtle Zins that this reminds me of. And you made one, John, from Texas.
Yeah, from 2012 or 2014.
Yeah. I think it's one of the best wines you've made. And this reminds me of it. And you agree with that or no?
Well, I agree that it reminds you of it. I would, I mean that.
Turn the duck around, Joe.
Agree with you on that. Yeah. Okay, stop turning the duck, Joe.
Hey, John,
yeah.
He won that duck fair and square. He can do whatever he wants with it.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome, Joe.
Okay. I do agree with you that it is reminiscent of a good Zinfandel. Absolutely. And unfortunately, I have to agree with you about the over-extractedness on some of the California Zins.
I like them, but I just like this better. And John, where does the pomegranate come from? Where else do you find this?
From Palm Natural pomegranate juice? No, I'm kidding.
Just 4 drops of barrel.
No, unfortunately, I said that as a smart aleck comment at a dinner one time. And somebody honestly thought we were pouring concentrate of something in the wines.
Well, you know, John, for many years, my brother and I called the winery Chateau Frozen Concentrate.
As a joke. And I said, you know, somebody's going to pick that up. One of our competitors.
That's funny. You know, we need to get Will back on here. He hasn't been on in a while. his responsibilities as a Becker.
We need to bring him back next week when we have all the like super much older wines. Will's got to be on so he can give all of his stories.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
I'll call it. It's gonna happen.
The grenadine or the pomegranate. So, true grenadine is reduced pomegranate. So they simmer the pomegranate juice down to a syrup. We call it grenadine. I'm not talking about the sugar, red colored sugar water that people use as grenadine and today, but that super concentrated pomegranate comes from, honestly, the Sangiovese when it's very ripe, and it goes through because wine, the act of fermentation is an exothermic process of reduction. So, much like making soup. It's always better on the second day. Yeah, and cooking it down. But it's, winemaking is concentrating the flavors that are already there. We're not, I like to tell people, we're not necessarily making alcohol for alcohol's sake. The alcohol is a byproduct. What we are trying to do is bring forward those flavors that exist in the grape and concentrate them in a high enough level that you get them on your palate, and it brings a little bit of enjoyment with what you're doing. People have been very flippant, I amongst many of them, about what that process is. But that process is taking those beautiful flavors that exist and preserving them and concentrating them so that we can enjoy them. And they do age well. And wine is a living, breathing food. It ages in the bottle. Whiskey may be 20 years old at the time of bottling, but it stops aging when you bottle it. Same with brandy. But wine still continues to age. And so, when you're making wine, you have to kind of think about that. What is this wine destined for? Am I making a Cabernet that somebody will be able to lay down for 20 years? And Angela, all three of these wines should last another 10 years easily, including the 12.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. She asked that question earlier, and I did not get to it. I did not want her to think that we were ignoring her. But, when you're making that wine, you've got all these layers to deal with, and then you've got this idea of what you want. Then you keep your fingers crossed and hope that you've done everything right when you get it to bottle. But that is the most nerve-wracking time in our life as a winemaker is when it goes to bottle. That day of bottling is the thing that always keeps me up.
So. I want to mention that Trish sent me a email before the program, and she finished harvesting today. Trish has a vineyard that she has planted, she has pruned, she sprays it, she maintains it, and she harvested. And she completed harvest today and is headed for barrel. And so I just wanted to say, Trish, way to go.
Cheers.
Congratulations, Trish. Another well harvest. That's great. Trish, someday we're going to finish harvest here, and I don't know what we're going to do. Probably bottle some wine or something. But yeah, that is great. Okay, I want to get to the fun part. Okay, we've gone over the blends, and this is fun up to this point. But I want to compare these to each other. So, Doc, where do you want to start?
It's going to be hard to get me away from this 17 Zinfandel. But
thanks, Doc.
I'm with you. You pick them.
Okay.
See what Rebecca says.
I feel like the 16 and the 12 are interesting to compare because the style is very similar.
Okay. I've got them right here.
All right.
Ooh, this 12 is opening up even more now.
Yeah, on the front palate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well, and Joe, it's interesting to compare those because they're both predominantly Merlot, and I think that's a really interesting comparison. It's also interesting because the 2016 is more Hill Country Merlot, correct? And the 2012 is more High Plains Merlot. So I think that's also an interesting sort of comparison as well.
And I think I was hoping that the 16 would have opened up a little more. Still, as I said, just a little muted. But I think, 5-10 years, I think it's going to be a wonderful wine to drink.
Yeah, I would say in 3 to 5 years, it's gonna have a heck of a deep nose.
Yeah.
That 12 for me, like I said, I hadn't opened it up a long time ahead of time, and right now it's really starting to open up for me. It's really quite remarkable. There's a lot of depth to that. It's layers of flavor and layers of aromatics for that 12.
You know, I think I'm getting just a hint of a little bit of clove grass in that 12.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That is good. So what do we want to compare? I personally want to try the 17 against each the 12 and the 16,
All right.
Sure.
considering that's all we can do, right?
You say so.
I mean, I'm in the library. I can open something else if you guys want me to.
No,
But the Cab Franc is right over there.
And you could tell us about it.
no. I'm telling you right now, we moved the Cab Franc.
You did not. I found it. I put a little like tracker on each bottle.
Okay, so Doc, what do you think of the 12 and the 17?
The 12 and the 17, they're so different.
They are. I mean, there's really. Is that PM or AM? Chris?
I like the 12 a lot, but I'm really under the spell of the 17 because it has such intense fruit and structure and aromatics and everything. It's really cooking.
When I smell the two of them together, the 17 after I give a deep whiff on the 17, it's almost like it brings out a little menthol in the 12, a little eucalyptus or menthol.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Fascinating. You know, the 17 does kind of remind me of some of those 100-year-old Zinfandel vine wines.
Yeah, and they're delicate.
17, the 17 for me, I'm getting on the nose now, I'm getting some of that sort of jamminess. You know, we've been saying fruit, but now it's kind of developing into more of a sort of a melded fruit. It's
Right.
sort of jamminess all around. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we were at Dry Creek last year and had some of their 100-year-old Zin. And the winemaker told us that one of the things, speaking about Mrs. Cano's experience with rattlesnakes in the Chardonnay, that in these 100-year-old vines, there's kind of a cup that forms. And rattlesnakes love to get up into that.
They
into
do.
that.
Oh, wow.
Tell about that's the first time I'd heard that, John. Tell that story.
Yeah. Well, because they're all head pruned, Doc. All those beautiful vines are pruned, and they wrap right up in the middle there.
And they get up. There's kind of a cup where where the head portions come off.
Yep.
And that's the spot they like. Yeah.
Yep. They do indeed. And
So
I used to get in trouble from somebody
is
that
that
I
up
met
in the high
with
plains?
about taking rattlesnakes and disposing of them.
Yes.
So that's typically in the High Plains is where that happens, the
No,
rattlesnake.
that's in California.
Oh, that's in California. Okay.
But Mrs. Canada's canopy, as I understand it, gets so dramatic right around the time of harvest that they like to curl up in there as well.
I'm sure they do. Like, I mean, it makes a beautiful place. Plus the baby birds up there that they can hunt and little things. You know, I mean, think about it. It's like going to your favorite hotel with your favorite restaurant right next door, and all you got to do is sit there. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, Jean Georges is at Trump International. That's a problem. So. Sorry.
Okay, I got it here. When There's Time is the vault behind Rebecca was about to cave in, and you knew that they had 5 minutes to safely grab one bottle for each of you. What bottle would you ask for? That's a great question. So we wouldn't ask. We would just tell Rebecca to go look for something in there that wasn't there, and to see if it was truly taking in. Now, look at Rebecca like. I'd ask for the Cab
Not
Franc.
cool, John.
Yeah, I'd ask you to grab the Cab Franc.
It's already in my purse.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Yes,
Doc,
true.
Joe,
Yeah.
what would y'all ask me to grab?
Thinking what's back there, I'm going to name more than one, but I would say I would probably grab the 14 Raven. I might grab the 12 Canada Cab. I think that was John's first Canada Cab. That was so amazing. Those are two that come to mind for me.
And I love to find the old Chardonnays that are back there. And
Yeah.
some of them are
If you go in.
they're incredibly honeyed, amazing to taste. They're not oxidized, they're not over the hill. They're in amazing shape.
Well, I would personally ask you to grab, Rebecca, a bottle of the 2012 Albarino just for Brett.
You can give that to him yourself. So I love that Dr. Becker point out the old Chardonnays, because one of the things that we did a few years ago when we had that celebration dinner for I believe it was the 25th anniversary of the taste room opening, Brett came down here and I happened to be working that day. So I got to join in on trying different wines, and Brett grabbed a 1999 Chardonnay, and he thought that it would just kind of be we didn't know, if it would be any good or anything. And we poured it and just kind of to show people how white wines age. And we tasted it and it was phenomenal. And we ended up serving it at that celebration dinner to show everybody that, man, these Chardonnays have just aged beautifully. And like Dr. Becker said, they're very honeyed. They're fantastic wines. Absolutely fantastic.
I want to say, Russell Smith, you're not all bad. I wish him the best. He's a good guy.
Well, I ran into him. Oddly enough, we were coming back from California and he was getting on the plane right behind me.
What direction was he going in?
He asked me if I was following him, and I said, how can I be following you if I got on in front of you? Oh, goodness. Hey, Rebecca, Trish has got some great advice for you. So grab a large cart, get everything you can get your hands on, and roll.
That sounds like Trish.
I already have the escape plan.
Yeah.
Rebecca, do what I did earlier in the summer when I quarantined myself in his wine cellar.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That
Joe
sounds
had
fabulous.
Joe had the grape Rona.
Very good, yeah.
The best kind of Rona.
Oh, well, without being morose, without anything, this 2017 holds a very special point for me. So I would want you to grab the 2017 as much as you could.
I agree. Go on. The other one I would like is that early Zinfandel that John made, 12 or 13.
I think it was 12.
Yeah,
It's one of the best wines I've ever tasted from anywhere. So, of course it's gone, but it was really, really incredibly delicate. Had strawberry elixir notes. I mean, how can this be a Zinfandel? It's 100% single vineyard Zin. Just
yeah, from
wonderful.
Jet Wilmus. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jet, do something with your Zin. Let's go, man.
Now, don't give
Enough
Jet
is enough.
crap. Jet's been working his ass off.
I believe that.
Oh, yeah, these are wonderful. Okay, guys, you've got 3 beautiful wines. Pick one and pair it with something outstanding.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
I'll give you a second to think while I drink.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you. So I have been snacking on yet another charcuterie, but this is the charcuterie that we're now serving at the winery because we're open. And one of the things that's on this,
How did you get a charcuterie plate?
I'm special.
Wait a minute. Does chef know that you went into the kitchen and grabbed that?
It was in my storage area. It was brought to me. Angie brought it to me, and nobody is ever angry at Angie. Angie brought it to me, so it was okay.
So you're throwing Angie under the bus.
Yeah, it's fine. So one of the things that's on here are figs, and I happened to take a bite of fig while I was trying the 2012, and it was amazing. So I know that's a small thing, but fig with this 2012 was just eye-opening, wonderful, delicious. I like fig and I like wine, but the two of them combined were perfection. They were just absolutely wonderful together.
Good. That sounds wonderful. Joe or Doc, do you all have one of these wines in a dish?
The farmhouse sent me, they know about my addiction to fresh black-eyed peas. And they sent maybe 7 or 8 packages of shelled black-eyed peas.
Well,
And I didn't get that many. This is going to sound strange, but this 2017 Inverno with this incredible fruit, with fresh black-eyed peas and cornbread, would be like the most amazing dinner I'd ever had. I love that combination.
Okay, Joe.
I just want to say a couple things. I know we're going a little bit on time, but the two things that come to mind food-wise for me on this, because I'm looking at the 17, would be maybe an ossobuco like Thierry makes at the grill, or a lobster ravioli I think would be good with this.
Lobster ravioli. Before I say my pairing, Rebecca, somebody asked for you to show the charcuterie again.
I mean, I've eaten half of it, but here you go. It's got olives and like 3 different kinds of cheeses and a couple different meats and some fig jam and also some fresh figs and crackers. It's fantastic.
Right.
Oh, and of course our Marcona almonds, which are delicious.
I am going to pair 2 things, if you will indulge me. The first one I'm going to pair is the 2012 with wild mushroom risotto with truffle.
Yep. You got it. There you go. Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
The second one I'm going to pair is the 2017, and I'm going to pair it with well-aged pheasant with a walnut and fig stuffing.
Mm.
So I want to just, if I could steal the microphone for a second, I wanted to say a couple things before we go. Number one, if any of the, thank you, I know that some of the teachers at my older 2 school, Keystone, watch this. And so I just have to say thank you for the wonderful job they do every morning with the headmaster out there, Mr. Billy Handmaker, checking everybody's temperature. Everybody's got a mask. I think they've done a fabulous job. And I also want to say to our staff at the winery, I think you guys have done an amazing job with reopening the winery. We've been, obviously it's by reservation only, and we've wanted to keep everybody as safe as we can. Everybody has masks. I think our staff's done a wonderful job. And then lastly, one thing to mention here is that many people know about my father that I think one of the, despite being a wonderful physician and a wonderful winemaker, I think one of the things you're most proud of is your master's in English from the University of Texas. And so when we think about, one of the things that I feel like, Dad, you've always tried to do is to bring a little bit of intellect, a little bit of beauty to the world around you. And when I think about tasting the Merlot, thinking about, that the word Merlot comes from the French word for blackbird. One of my favorite poems that you always read was 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird by Wallace Stevens. So I think if people want to have a wonderful experience with having a glass of wine tonight and being with wonderful people, it's a wonderful poem to look up and read.
Well, that's a great tribute, Joe. In addition, if you're a teacher out there, you're already several people's favorite person, and you're
Thank you.
I will drink to that.
Among 20 snowy mountains, the only moving thing was the eye of the blackbird. It was evening all afternoon. It was snowing and it was going to snow. The blackbird sat on the cedar limb. That's it, John.
I am now disappointed. I'm gonna have to go.
They're haikus. They're haikus, John. And they're about, it's about imagination.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I have to say, Dr. Becker, one of my favorite things, Dr. Becker, is hearing you recite poetry because it warms my heart. Love that. My bachelor's degree was theater and poetry and Shakespeare and I just love it. Love it.
Well, Rebecca, another haiku from 13 Ways is a man and a woman are one. a man and a woman and a blackbird on one. Deal with it.
Okay, so sure. Wow. Okay, I don't
A
have
man
any.
and a woman, John, a man and a woman and imagination. You know, that's what it's about.
And imagination.
Okay. All right. It's not like you have to have a pet blackbird, John. It's not like that.
That's awesome.
I'll ask Stevens. But
Okay. So
Stevens
next week,
he got in a fist fight with Wallace with Ernest Hemingway.
really?
In
Yeah.
in Key West. He was a very big guy, and so was Ernest. And he was stove up for about 3 weeks after Ernest finished with him. But he caused the fight. He called it. He called him out. It was a
Well,
mistake.
it was a mistake. Did he not know anything about Ernest?
I didn't know quite enough.
Anyone who can stand up and write for days on end, drink heavily, and still fight in the Spanish Civil War?
It's funny.
Okay, I want to say this has been an absolutely fantastic tasting. Thanks for inviting me.
No, we're glad you could make it.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Rebecca, what is next week's lineup?
So next week is super exciting because it's some wines that I've never seen before that we kind of found in the cellars. So there's there's a 2013 Prairie Roti, which is one that there wasn't very much of. And then somehow it got moved. There was some that ended up in the library.
Actually got into the 2013.
How did that happen? Like, I mean, for real, there wasn't a lot of wine in 2013. So I was surprised to find some of it in the cellar. I think it's one of the only 2013 wines that we still have some of. So I'm really excited about that. And then we also have the 2008 Cabernet Sauvignon Maestro Reserve, which I had never seen. It was like a special blend for a special label. There's a whole story that goes along with it that I'm not getting into because we're going to do that next week. And then there's also a 2006 Cabernet from Granite Hill Vineyards, which is a completely different vineyard I don't know anything about. And so there are these three very distinct wines that were very much surprises when we found them in the cellar. And so we're really excited about next week's lineup. Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So for those of you who are joining us and had the 3 bottles and opened them all, if you don't want to drink them all, put them in the freezer and save them. So we just took a bottle that's been in the freezer for 3 weeks and took it out last night and had a glass of wine. It was perfectly wonderful. So you guys,
It's amazing. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
put them in the freezer if you want to keep them for a while. And on that happy note, I'd like to cheers everybody. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday, and may the rest of your week go beautifully well. So great wine.
Rebecca.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Rebecca, thank you.
Trish.